I and we are here with Dr. Julie Burke, here at the Acupuncture Palace.
Yes.
Here in Asheville. She's like the best thing about Asheville, actually.
Thank you.
Yeah. So love this one. Unbelievable, like the places that we go, like.
Indeed.
Yeah, pretty super incredible. So if you ever have a chance to get on her table, like, do so. But the reason that we're here today is because we are just entering spring, which, you know, we've been learning the chakra system, and they're not the same, but there are lots of crossovers, would you say, between the chakra system and Chinese Five Element?
Indeed.
I guess it's not Chinese Five Element that you do, but
that's right.
Between the meridians and the elements and the Chinese and the Indic system there's overlap, but they're also not the same.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I studied both Vedic, Ayurvedic, and Chinese medicine, and
got it.
You know, so there is a lot of overlay and correlation between the two systems, and I weave them together a lot in my practice, actually. So
great.
It's lovely.
Yeah. So she's gonna teach us a little bit about the wood element as we're moving into spring, and then do a little guided meditation and give some health tips, and I don't know what will happen, but we're gonna find out. So.
All right.
Here we go.
Great.
What do you have to teach us?
Great. Well, first, I like to start with the feeling. So I'll just ask us all to sit well. So find a cozy spot. If you're in a chair, kind of scooch to the top of the chair. That way your hips can sink down, your spine can lift to the sky. And just take a few nice deep breaths. I want to begin by inviting us to connect into the wood energy. And so what I've realized over the years of my practice is that you can always talk about the data and the information and the patterns. But when we start to slow down and to sink in and to feel them come alive inside of us, feel them in the nature around us, then we can know these patterns beyond our mind. So there's much more wisdom connected into the feeling sense. So I thought we would start there, to connect into the feeling. And to do that, we first connect to the breath. So allowing your breath to come deep into your belly and expand 360. So letting the breath come into your low back, expanding out to the sides as well. Letting your breath sink deep into your pelvis, deep into your kidneys. So we're coming out of winter, so that's actually where we will begin. So the energy of spring is the energy of the seed. So I invite you to envision the seeds that you have planted this winter. They're being held and nurtured in the deep, dark stillness of winter, buried in the soil. This is like the biggest hug that you can ever get, right? So you're being held and nourished. And so as you begin to feel the warmth of the sun, the longer days and the gift of spring coming, you can feel the energy as culminated in your seed begin to expand. And it expands in all directions. It roots down, expands out, and it also begins to rise up. So the wood energy and the energy of spring carries with it a strength, because you must penetrate the darkness, right? And you must reach toward the light. So the wood energy is very strong. Envisioning all the flowers, and right now we have the daffodils and all the bulbs like pressing up through the soil, reaching for the sun. So the strong, expansive energy that pierces through the darkness, reaching for the light, reaching for the warmth of the sun. This is the wood. And this is the energy of spring. So just take a few breaths and just feel the expansion. I invite you to return to your breath. Once again, letting it sink deep in. So rooting down so that you can hold that rising, expanding energy of the wood. And then open your eyes slowly and bringing back this awareness and this feeling with you as you come into the present moment.
Expansive. Yeah, I like the imagery of the bulbs.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm like really loving them every morning. I'm like, ah, yes, here we are, spring.
Here we are, spring.
Yeah, sweet.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's that rejuvenation, expansive energy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, alive.
Very true.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So tell us more about the wood element.
The wood element.
Wood element. What's wood all about? What meridian is that? What is this about?
Well, the wood. So,
well, maybe we should tell them the
Mm-hmm.
rest of them, and then focus on wood. Yeah, just quickly.
That sounds great.
Great.
Yep, the 5 elements. All the 5 elements. Spinning in the wheel. So, my Chinese medicine training is in classical Chinese medicine and also traditional. So I have like a wee bit in 5 element, enough to share a lot of wisdom with you all. But I'm not officially a 5 element practitioner. But the 5 elements are wood is the spring, right? And then next comes the fire. Fire is the summer, and earth comes after that, and that's considered kind of transitioning into autumn. And then you have the fall time is metal, winter time is the water, and that spins us back around to the wood. It's beautiful if you guys ever see the 5 element chart. I can show you a picture. I love handouts, so I'll have plenty of them. Here's your photo. If you follow the energy around the circle this way, it's called the Sheng cycle or nourishing cycle. You can see how the elements nourish each other. And if you follow the star, that's called the Ko or Ka cycle, and that's the control cycle, how the elements control and balance one another, because we don't want them to get out of balance, right? So you can see how the water nourishes the wood, right? So we're coming from winter, nourishing the wood of spring, so we have the stillness, and we have, obvious, the water that we use to feed the plants, right? And then when the wood feeds fire, right? Because that's what you need to burn the fire, right? When you burn that wood in the fire, it creates ash, which is then earth, right? And then once the earth is refined, that is metal or the mineral kingdom, so like crystals and geoids, especially in these Appalachian Mountains, you have these geoids, right? Because they're like
rich,
high temperature, high pressure, and so they're now forming this like refined earth of metal. And then the minerals, it really makes sense of this one, is the life that exists in the deep bowels of the ocean that has no sunlight. They live on the minerals in the water, in the thermal plumes, right? And so the minerals of the water then nourish that life. So the minerals from the metal nourish the water, and that cycle continues. So that's the living 6.
So we're coming out of darkness.
Darkness. Water. Yeah,
Kidneys.
I know.
Right?
Yeah. Like it's a beautiful journey, because darkness kind of has a bad rap,
Yeah.
But really, darkness in our Chinese medical model is actually like your foundation, right? Darkness is stillness. It's the yin, like it's the womb in which we all come through.
Got it.
To birth into the physical form, right?
So we're birthing.
We're birthing.
We're birthing.
It's totally a birthing time.
Okay.
So you can guess like 5 element uses like color, sound, odor, and emotion to kind of identify. They all have a taste, a flavor of a food, right? And then they also have a season, which we just went through all the seasons. So wood is, you can guess what color?
Green.
Green. The shoots of spring, right?
Uh-huh.
Have you guys already talked about all this? Or no? Okay, good.
We do mostly chakra stuff.
Oh, great. That's great. So you so I guess I could try to overlay the chakras, but they don't overlay perfectly, but you will see some crossover. But the organs associated with the wood are liver, gallbladder.
I'm angry.
That's right. That's out of balance wood.
Oh. Shit. Better get in balance.
No, it's true. I mean, wood has the worst rap, I think. It really does. But so wood out of balance is anger. But wood in balance
is what?
Appropriate boundaries.
Right? Got it.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's why when somebody crosses your boundary,
you're like, arr.
You get angry. Totally. Exactly.
Don't step on me.
That's right. Do not step on my toes. I got something to say about it.
Got it.
Wood
Boundaries.
and so boundaries. You think about a tree. I always think about like wood is like a nice literal one because it's like the tree. You know, it's important that it's rooted, right? Because if it's not rooted, you get things like migraine headaches or dizziness, things like that, right?
Yeah.
You get energy, upward movement energy goes really fast, right? And it makes sense because what did we just talk about? The characteristics of the wood energy.
Like alive.
Fast, like big. It has to be so strong that it pierces through, right? So when it's not rooted, you get imbalance and you have things like migraine headaches or dizziness. And if your root isn't nourished enough.
Got it. So those are some of the symptoms. Headaches.
Those are some of the symptoms
like
you can see. This upward flushing of energy when the root is not nourished.
Got it.
Yeah.
So we still have to nourish our roots.
You do. Yes.
Okay.
Always have to nourish the roots. I mean, my fiery self knows that more than anyone. Lean back, slow down, nourish your root.
Yeah.
So yeah, indeed.
Cool. Yeah.
That's good.
So green, liver, gallbladder, anger.
Yeah.
So tell me more about gallbladder. How do those two relate?
So liver, gallbladder, I mean, it's nice, like physiologically, they kind of pair together here, you know, the gallbladder tucks up in the liver. Liver and gallbladder are considered yin-yang pairs, right? So there's actually multiple pairing systems when you start to like dive into the Chinese medical system.
Right.
The most common one that people hear about is the yin-yang pairing system.
Right.
And so they're considered yin-yang pairs. So
did you want to show me?
Sure. So the yin channels rise up the inside of the leg. Liver starts with the inside of the toe. So here's your drawing up your resources, right? Drawing up the water from the earth. The liver connects to the genitalia and then comes all the way to your ribs right here, right? Gallbladder starts at the eyes, okay? And then comes around, circles the head, shoulders. Gallbladder is really the one.
Oh, this is a good
I
one,
know, right? This whole like side body, right? Twisting, right? So they say like you need your wood to be well hydrated, right? So you can sway in the winds of change, right? And so all the symptomology when you're stiff and all stressed out and clenched is you can't sway in the winds of change. So you'll have trouble twisting, right? And that's going to be indicative of things are stuck in my gallbladder, ribs, hips, sacrum, psoas.
It comes through here, right?
It does. It kind of weaves back and forth, right? It has gallbladder has a strong affinity for what's called the diami or belt channel. So it wraps all the way from the sacrum to kind of the front. And we'll kind of drop in, you know, and connect into the psoas. There's a couple points right here on the top of the hips that, you know, that anterior iliac spine there. And then it kind of comes to IT band, you know, that's a really thick spot. And then down the outside, all the way down to the fourth toe. This is the gallbladder channel. So you can see how they kind of, the yang kind of comes down and out, and the yin channels are going to be about that nourishment. you know, so you always want to have a little bit of both.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I felt like when I was thinking about like what to share in 10 minutes
Quick.
is that the most important thing to share is that to remember that the Chinese medical model is a medicine of relationships, right? So even though I can talk to you about the characteristics and the concepts of the wood energy, you don't want to be like, it's springtime, let's all together do this thing, right?
Yeah.
So the most important thing is that first that you know yourself, that you know your tendencies, you know what your constitution is, right? And then you can choose what will bring you balance, right?
Got it.
Because some people, like, their wood needs to be nourished, right? And they do need a stronger root, right? Well, other people, actually things are stuck and they need to kind of flush down and out. So if you nourish something that's stuck, it's just like adding water
to water.
Exactly.
Right, and then I'm soggy.
And then you're soggy and
no fun.
Cranky.
And cranky.
Because everything's all stuck and sluggish and you can't go anywhere. And you're like, hello.
Yeah.
So it's like the gift and the challenge with the Chinese medical model is that the gift is that you really get a chance to know yourself deeper, understand the relationships that you have and how things are correlated and connected. Now the challenge is that you don't get a straightforward answer. I have this, what do I do? You know, like you can't just answer
you gotta
that.
Dance with it.
You have to dance with it.
Yeah.
So
one of the things we're learning right now is that we're doing the chakra system, but we're learning like the relationships.
Great.
There's nothing is. And I think that's a Western mind frame. It's like this is this and this is this, and let's put it in a chart. Maybe just right.
We want to categorize
and that is
sort.
Right, which I think is one of your gifts. Is like the alchemy of like how do these live in story and myth and relationship.
That's right.
Right.
Yeah. And leaning into that more, you know, which I think is a gift that we get to bring to our culture because we all grew up being like sorting and you know like stacking little boxes on Sesame Street, you know, like so it's like it's nice to kind of break the mold and you know
is this rational?
Step into more, you know, realistic things. Yes, is this rational? Like yes.
Which is anything but rational, right?
It's anything but rational, right? But it's more aligned with you know our experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So relationship. Yeah. Cool. So a yin and a yang.
Yin and a yang.
Yeah.
Wood element.
I like that. Water. Will you explain the other way? So if someone's water and water, it's soggy, but the other way would be like.
The other way is kind of like you're too dry and brittle, right? Like you don't have enough, and so like when you're asked to change, you're like I'm holding it together, right?
Yeah.
Then you blow your top,
right?
You know, like so you get like big anger. If it doesn't show up in the emotion, you get like this is your classic. Type A personality, I'm holding my shit together, and then all of a sudden I can't hold it together anymore, and I have a big migraine headache. You know, so like the energy has to move, right? And
it has to go somewhere.
It has to go somewhere.
Right.
And if it can't go down, down the gallbladder channel and plug back into the earth, then it's gonna go up to the top, right? You can also get like the dizziness, like what we call blood deficiency. So how do you treat that pattern is that's when you're going to nourish liver blood, nourish your yin fluids. That's going to, you can have, if you're going to lean into the diet moment here, you can, follow all the Western guidelines like spinach, eat red foods, beets, eat red meat, organic, healthy,
for spring.
Free range. This is to nourish liver blood.
Sorry.
Yeah, okay. So that's one of the, I kind of like looked at a couple of my, notes from back in the day and a couple like nutrition books based on Chinese medicine. And I really liked, again, just you can't like have one answer. It's like, these are liver foods. Like there's a couple, one or two you can kind of plug in there,
Yeah.
But really it's like, again, understanding the concept of like most often you're going to see recipes and foods that nourish liver blood or move the stagnation. So then we're back to that same boat of like, you need to kind of understand where you sit in the picture so that you can kind of play the yin yang game and create balance for yourself.
Excess or deficiency. Could you kind of speak to some of the tendencies that people see during this spring?
Spring, yeah. So excess, I actually, you can kind of expand beyond what I just talked about. Like excess wood energy is going to be anxious, you could be anxious, anxiety, that can be doing a little bit of heart too. You will tend to that's why we got spring cleaning, right? We get all this extra energy, so you're gonna have excess energy. If you can ground it, then you can put it to good use. If you can't ground it, then you're gonna get kind of things like hard to focus, manic, dizzy, headaches, and then that will then flip, so that's the liver yang rising aspect. If it's more in this gallbladder kind of damp, you get damp accumulation, right? So then you could, and then I'll tell you all the story about how it shows up in allergies.
Oh, allergies, because it's springtime.
Season, right?
Yeah.
And there's a little bit more going on, but there's some fun stories there. But so you can get this accumulation of phlegm, right? Accumulation of phlegm, my favorite metaphor is it's like your head stuck in a marshmallow. So then you're like, I have brain fog. I can't, it's hard to focus and concentrate. That's just you're damp, right? You can actually have I've seen some folks have their ears clogged, right? People have chronic sinus infections, right? And then the damp can also show up in the musculoskeletal system. So you have achy shoulders, heavy shoulders, stiff neck, stiff low back, hips, kind of thing.
Not moving well.
Got right? And then you can get a little cranky too.
Got it.
So that's kind of liver gallbladder symptomology of deficiency versus excess damp accumulation. It can also show up kind of digestively, right? So you can have more sensitivity to alcohol, more sensitivity to spicy food, because alcohol and spicy food also raise the energy up, right? So if you have a tendency for this already, do not add that in. Right. Now's the time to spring clean and be like, I'm going to take some time off, of the spicy food because I have enough of that energy already. If you're damp and, have a sinus infection, or then having a little bit of ginger, right? Some really tubers that are kind of aromatic can actually help you bust through the phlegm.
Interesting.
Yeah. That's why a lot of people who crave spicy food also have phlegm, damp, stagnation. They'll crave spicy food. Because the spice pushes through. I know. There's a little bit of conundrum that happens there. So I definitely, find yourself a good practitioner and talk about it a lot, because it's really confusing at first. I always tell my students, for the first year, you're gonna kind of feel I get it. Wait, I don't get it. I get it. I don't get it. I feel you kind of feel like you're in a swirly kind of confusion. But then the more you talk about it and the more you kind of just, anchor in the things that are really making sense to you, then it all comes together. There's another practitioner and teacher. He says it's kind of like a fuzzy picture that slowly comes into focus. And fuzzy picture. It slowly comes into focus. So cool, right? Yeah. So that's a nice way to remember. As you start to lean into some of these things that, you'll have 1 minute that you're like, and you're like, no. Right. I thought I got it. I don't got it, and that's just kind of, it's nature, so you just keep leaning in and you get to dance, right, with it.
Okay. If you were to give them sort of a general thing, nutrition-wise and or maybe
tapping.
I was taught that.
I love the tapping. Yeah.
What would you say, this is spring, think about what kind of foods or what kind of detox. I mean, as I know it, this is a great time to start spring cleaning on the inside.
Spring cleaning on the inside. Well, the most important thing for spring cleaning is hydration, right? How are your fluids, right? If you don't have enough fluids, then if you try to detox yourself, you actually make yourself sick, right? So that's my number one. Where are you? Water, not just water, electrolytes, right?
Sea salt or
sea salt, a little maple syrup. I love the sea salt, maple syrup, splash of lime. That's my favorite. Some folks love just the sea salt, and
that's my favorite. Sea salt.
Sea salt. That's really nice. It kind of gives that electromagnetic charge to the water. It makes the absorption of the water much more bioavailable to you. So that's really what we're going for. I like to think we don't just breathe oxygen, right? Air is a blend, right? So too are our liquids, in our body, and you want to have that sweet spot. So hydration first.
Water.
Water. Other foods to think about are let's see. It's a hard question.
I know.
It's such a hard question.
Forcing you
mushrooms
to a box.
you're forcing me to a box. I don't want to go.
I see that. We don't have
I
to.
try to turn it to a circle. Some of the other things you can think about, like mushrooms, like funguses, are kind of
Magic mushrooms.
Magic mushrooms, always, right?
A
No.
plate full with a little olive oil.
Totally. I prefer chocolate.
Okay.
No. Reishi is probably my favorite, like reishi, chaga.
Yeah.
So there are other, mushrooms that are going to build and boost the immune system. But
Okay.
a lot of mushrooms will help transform dampness.
Oh, okay. Got it.
Right. So I think I would like to answer your question. Are you blood deficient and need that liver blood, or are you damp and stagnant? So that would kind of be a clearer way to answer your question, right?
Okay.
If you're damp and stagnant, you want to use some aromatic foods. That's where the gingers, the garlics, alliums can come in. Citrus, but especially citrus peel. So, marinating your meats in citrus, taking the citrus peel and making some tea with citrus peel. So those things are going to be aromatic and dispersing to help kind of transform, bust through that dampness, right? The citrus is a little moving. Then you can also sour foods. So sour is the flavor of the liver. And sour kind of like astringes, like whoosh, so that's that boundary thing, right?
Got it. I pull in.
Yeah, right. So the thing is, all the things I say, you really need to remember that all things are in moderation, right? Because you can have some sour and it'll start to work, and if you eat too much of it, then it'll actually make you brittle, right? It'll take you into the, so you really, the most important.
Some more is not better.
Right. Darn, right? I know. Oh my gosh. That's such a bummer. But it's true. So really, like, find the sweet spot. That's what I call it. It's like surfing a wave. Like you can't don't lean too far left or too far right. You'll get knocked off, right? You kind of like, it's the dance, right? Like, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. So we have sours, the flavor, sour foods, vinegars and ferments also, like sauerkrauts and things like that.
Okay, great.
Apple cider vinegar. I know some folks have been coming to me like, I'm doing apple cider vinegar right now. So, but again, like, some of those things are detoxing, right? So you just want to like listen to your body, know when to take a break, right? Obviously we got the sours, the vinegars, the movers. Then we'll shift to the nourishers.
Okay.
So the nourishers are going to be things that are kind of anything that juicy, like filled with fluid.
Like butter,
Yeah.
Radish.
What's that?
Radish.
Radish is good. Daikon radish is good. Sprouts, right? So sprouts have that affinity of the wood energy, right? Because they're little baby sprouts, right? Especially mung bean sprouts, they're also full of juicy liquid. So mung bean sprouts is pretty famous in there. I love like beets. Let's see what else did I write down.
Beets.
Beets will build your blood.
Oh.
Yeah.
Blood builder.
Blood builder. Right? So you want to like
I know a few folks who really like their beets.
Yeah. And blood fluids. Right.
Okay.
Those are the things I think about. What else? The fungus for the liver. So
basically movers and shakers.
Movers and shakers. A little bit of both.
Right. Yeah.
You want to like find the sweet spot of like nourishing your fluids and
then some of it to shake it out, like for other folks.
That's right.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you do have damp accumulation, you want to remember to like avoid dairy and avoid yogurt. A lot of people have been like yogurt, but then it's like too cold and sticky.
But I love my coconut yogurt.
I know.
It's my favorite.
Wait till summertime.
Okay.
That's the beauty of this model, because you can always be like, well, let's just tweak it. You can always create balance in some other way.
Noted.
Right? So just know when.
Know how to cheat and when.
That's right.
Okay, great. Got it.
Know how to create balance, yeah.
Sorry.
It's okay. You can call it cheat when if you want. The Libra in me, I'm like,
oh, right.
So good, so good. Yeah. Awesome.
Great.
Mm-hmm. Let me see if there's anything else I wrote down. One of the other things I thought about was like eating the plants that are growing around you. Right? So like look around, like, I don't know where you guys live, but like here in Appalachia, we have fresh dandelion. And so dandelion goes great in your salads and
blood detox or
clears heat, clears toxicity, right? So actually is a wonderful for the liver, right?
Yeah.
And we also, violets I saw are coming up. So you can pick the violet flowers, make a beautiful infusion. It makes like beautiful like blue purple tea.
Yeah, great.
It's lovely. And then chickweed. I don't know, have you ever had chickweed?
I don't
For
know
the
that
like
one.
wild food foragers.
Okay.
So chickweed is a wonderful springtime.
Yeah.
I like to make a chickweed pesto. Yeah, you kind of like mix a little basil in with it and nut of your choice, and
Right.
it's a great springtime, you know, full of chlorophyll,
Right.
you know, full of life
Yeah.
that way. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. So
I'm hungry.
eat what's around you and what's
Well,
growing in season, you know. So that's a fun way to kind of like again like get to know and get to know like what the plants are in your ecosystem
In your area.
in your area.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any other questions I have?
You know, I have this odd question that's coming to me. Who is your favorite teacher who comes to mind?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, who's
Well,
your
my favorite teacher.
who,
Oh.
who do you like? Yeah.
Well, who do I listen to? Well, I mean, my main teacher is Jeffrey Yuen.
Jeffrey Wynn.
Yuen.
Yuen. Okay.
Yuen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's an 88th generation Taoist priest, and his grandfather brought him here when he was 5
Wow.
and taught him Chinese medicine. And so he
Wow.
learned from like
Yeah. Wow.
yeah.
Yeah.
And now he teaches, and he's actually our school, Taoist tradition school, is based off his teachings. And so
Wow,
he's really bringing the classical Chinese medical model forth. And
Right.
that
Which is super important, right?
it's super important, and it's really different, you know, and that's something I could share with you all that I think it's important to begin to know, because I think the Chinese medicine that we hear about most often is traditional Chinese medicine. You see the 12 primary channels, like these posters are just traditional Chinese medicine.
Okay.
Classical Chinese medicine takes into effect that we are not just like a flat screen of just 12, you know, channels that flow. We're actually these layered, dynamic creatures.
Yes.
And so we work with what's called the 5 channel systems in classical Chinese medicine, and that take into consideration both this like linear flow pattern, but also a layered sequencing of it's a very
multiple realities,
multidimensional
multidimensional,
experience.
yeah.
Very much so,
Got it.
right? In physical form, but also energetically as well.
Yeah.
You know, so that's for me the difference between classical and traditional Chinese medicine.
Right.
But it's good for people to, I think, start to know and to kind of peek up their ears and say, wait, there are different types of Chinese medicine out there.
Right.
And what we hear about most is this traditional, kind of like one-dimensional
So as I
versus
know
the
it,
layered system.
Right. It's like, as I know it, some of the like magic and the alchemy got taken out, right? And
That's
you
my
infuse
understanding.
it. That's your.
I
That's
definitely do
your
my best
mojo,
to reinfuse.
right?
Indeed.
Yeah. Great.
Yeah. I have a background in energy medicine as well.
Mhm.
So, and I actually trained in soul focus healing a little bit. Soul focus healing is a chakra system based healing
Yeah.
modality. And so I kind of weave them all together. I'm trained in massage therapy and some craniosacral as well. So I definitely weave them all in my practice. So you get a little bit more of that like magic yum, you know, because you get the classical perspective with this,
all the juju,
all the goodness. Yeah. Because I will like, you know, sometimes I'm like, oh well, your kidney fear points need to be unwound, so I'll go in within the smaller nadis within the chakra systems and help them unwind and balance and charge them while you're sitting with your needles down.
Right.
Yeah, it's my favorite. I feel so blessed to know some other systems and be able to weave them in, because sometimes, you know, when you're working with the body, you're actually, you know, you're on the body, working the body, and it's like not responding, and that's when I go, oh wait, like this pattern might be holding in someone's field, so you lean back and you go, oh, actually this is really playing out in your energy field, or in, you know, more connected with your chakras, or more in your emotional body. Yeah, so it's good to have that in your pocket. There's much more going on. How do I lean in and listen?
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
That was a great question to you.
Yeah. like I feel the mojo, and I'm so appreciative. Like just amazing, just amazing. Like, oh,
Thank you so much.
yeah, good stuff.
Such good stuff. It's
Thanks.
an honor to work with you. Yeah.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And she has classes available.
I do.
Yes,
I
classes.
can.
Tell us about your
I
class.
do. Yes. I have 2 classes actually, and I can give you links to these too. But I'll show you guys. This actually is a transformational bodywork class I'm doing with my friend Giuseppe Piazza. This class is really based on some of that energy work that we just talked about. Like, wait, if I'm not, seeing the physical form respond, how do I lean back and listen to different layers of the body? So, and then how do I, slow down? So this is a class designed for both massage therapists and acupuncturists, because I want acupuncturists to be able to weave in, beyond like Tui Na and Chinese medical massage that we learn. Often we'll just get like 1 or 2 semesters of it, and then, there's so much information coming in, at the foundation level of your acupuncture career. It's nice to kind of lean in and have some like, wait, how do I treat from your shoulder? Or, what if somebody's low back isn't responding to what I've been doing? How do I, have some other ideas in my pocket?
So more of the somatic piece.
More of a somatic piece.
Got it.
Yeah.
Great.
So bodywork class. It's coming up
Great.
April 20th and 21st.
Beautiful.
And then I also have, I'm so blessed to have this. This is a more esoteric class. That's been
right up my alley.
downloaded. Yes. I actually thought about you for this one too, but this is my dear friend and colleague, Dr. Omi, and this is called the Divine Weaver, and so this is more of like tapping into kind of like our soul's journey, right?
Okay.
Our soul's journey on the planet and how it unfolds in this like really sacred divine way. So for acupuncturists, we're taking a journey through the 8 extraordinary vessels.
Okay.
So the 8 extraordinary vessels are one of the 5 of the classical Chinese medicine systems, but the 8 extraordinary vessels connect into the bones and the yuan qi. Like, that's our kind of a deep karmic curriculum that we're born with, right? So this is about one, developing kind of self-awareness of like, where am I in my own journey of life? Because we all have the hero's journey, right? We all have the darkness, the dark night of the soul. We have the call. We have the leaving home, right? We have the return, and then we do this again and again, in like tiny cycles in our lives. And Omi and I started to realize that the hero's journey is really overlain beautifully in the 8 extraordinary vessels, and actually in some of the other goddess stories, right? So this is going to be on Mother's Day. We're doing this Mother's Day weekend. We're going to do 2 mornings, like 9 to 11 Eastern Standard Time, and really just this class is like a much more embodied journey of how we can see the wisdom that's woven through all the cultures, that
Beautiful.
Has been passed down really from generation to generation, and really like understanding where we are in the hero's journey, so that we can help each other. Like if you're in the dark night of the soul and you're like, wait, I'm stuck, I can't see,
Right.
that you can, we can support each other, or maybe we're like, we made it through, but we're like, wait, I need to come home. Now what do I do? And it's like,
Where to now?
come home.
Right.
Bring your wisdom home. Like once you journey, like bring it back. Come home and share what you learned, because that's gonna touch another being. That's gonna touch other souls. It's gonna help us all remember, that we are these cyclical rhythms and patterns that are getting to have and experience this human journey. So this I feel like is full of rich.
That is rich.
Elixir as
feel
well.
it.
Yeah. So love to have you, and love to have any of you guys too.
Great.
And just be such an honor and pleasure, and this is just the beginning, right? So just do my best to listen as well, and
Good.
just, share from the heart.
Great. Thanks.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
It's been a joy.